Amen. All right, so we are going to be over in Genesis today, and I shout out the text message. Anyone know the story of Mr. Onan already? I know Cindy does. But we're going to be in Genesis 38. And we're just going to do a lot of Bible digging and pulling strings and stuff tonight, which will be really great. What I was going through and looking at, I was going, wow, can we disrupt God's plan in our lives? There's just a series of disruptions throughout this chapter. I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, how do we disrupt God's plans in our lives? And then how does he get us back on track? So we want to read the whole chapter. So if someone wants to read the whole thing, great. If not, we can break it up. How would you guys like to do this tonight?
I'm happy to read the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay. I'm reading from the Jewish Study Bible. Mm. Okay, Genesis 38.
Yes, Genesis 38.
I like this story. Okay. About that time, Judah left his brothers and camped near a certain Adullamite whose name was Hira. Judah saw the daughter of a certain Canaanite whose name was Shua, and he married her and cohabitated with her. She conceived and bore a son, and he named him Er. She conceived again and bore a son, and named him Onan. Once again she bore a son and named him Shelah. He was the Chezib when he was at Chezib when she bore him. Judah got a wife for Er, his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was displeasing to the Lord, and the Lord took his life. Then Judah said to Onan, join with your brother's wife and do your duty by her as brother-in-law and provide offsprings for your brother. But Onan, knowing that the seed would not count as his, let it go to waste whenever he joined with his brother's wife, so as not to provide offspring for his brother. What he did was displeasing to the Lord, and he took his life also. Then Judah said to his daughter-in-law Tamar, stay as a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah grows up. For he thought, he too may die like his brothers. So Tamar went to live in her father's house. A long time afterward, Shua's daughter, the wife of Judah, died. When his period of mourning was over, Judah went up to Timnah to his sheep shearers together with his friend Hira the Adullamite. And Tamar was told, your father-in-law is coming up to Timnah for the sheep shearing. She took off her widow's garb, covered her face with a veil, and wrapping herself up, sat down at the entrance of Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah, for she saw that Shelah was grown up, yet she had not been given him as wife. When Judah saw her, he took her for a harlot, and for she had covered her face. So he turned aside to her by the road and said, here, let me sleep with you. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. What? She asked, will you pay for sleeping with me? He replied, I will send a kid from my flock. But she said, you must leave a pledge until you have sent it. And he said, what pledge shall I give you? She replied, your seal and cord and the staff which you carry. So he gave them to her and slept with her, and she conceived by him. Then she went on her way. She took off her veil and again put on her widow's garb. Judah sent the kid by his friend the Adullamite to, re- to redeem the pledge from the woman, but he could not find her. He inquired of the people of that town, Where is the called prostitute? The one at Enaim by the road? But they said, there has been no prostitute here. So he returned to Judah and said, I could not find her. Moreover, the townspeople said there has been no prostitute here. Judah said, let her keep them. Let's lest we become a laughing stock. I did send her this kid, but you did not find her. About 3 months later, Judah was told, your daughter-in-law Tamar has played the harlot. In fact, she is with child by harlotry. Bring her out, said Judah, let her be burned. And as she was being brought out, she sent this message to her father-in-law. I am with child by the man to whom these belong. And she added, examine these. Whose seal and cord and staff are these? Judah recognized them and said, she is more in the right than I, inasmuch as I did not give her to my son Shelah, and he was not intimate with her again. When the time came for her to give birth, there were twins in her womb. When she was in labor, one of them put out his hand, and the midwife tied a crimson thread on her hand to signify this one came out first. But just then he withdrew back his hand, and out came his brother. And she said, what a breach you have made for yourself. So he was named Perez. Afterward, his brother came out, one hand on whose hand was the crimson thread, and he was named Sarah.
All right. Welcome to the soap opera. Now, let's
Right.
talk about this. Real talk, real understanding. Thank you, Brenda, for all of that reading.
You're
What do you
welcome.
understand from all of that? And what stands out for you?
Okay. Oh, Bridget.
No, you go ahead.
No, I can wait.
Okay, go ahead, Bridget. Then we'll go back up to Brenda.
Okay. I realized as we were reading this that I had heard this story before, and then as soon as I heard Tamar, I had recently looked at like the genealogy of Jesus, and I know that she's in there and Bathsheba's in there, and I think we'd done a study, right, about like God
Yes,
redeeming the women that people had kind of discarded. But then
right.
like beyond that, I feel like just looking at like the position of where this story is in the Bible, it's like all in the midst of when Joseph's in the middle of his craziness. And I
Hmm.
feel like, I mean, obviously God has a plan no matter what. Like if our stuff is going on, there's something else going on here that is equally, if not more important, since like Jesus came from the line of Judah. So I never had like that hadn't like ever occurred to me before that this was all going on at the same time. And the kind of like what you had said in the beginning, like there's a plan, like God has a plan for it all to work out in the end. And obviously like Joseph is the reason like they were able to eventually still survive, but this thing had to happen in the middle of all that simultaneously.
Right, right. Okay, good. Chaos. Now we're going to be talking about God and chaos because we're going to see a lot of it here. Brenda, what were you going to share?
Though I was about to go, it's so interesting that the writer made a deviation from Joseph's story to just give us, and this is what Judah was busy doing after betraying his brother and selling him into, slavery.
Mhm.
He went, and interesting enough that he married a Canaanite, which was, I guess they haven't told them yet they couldn't marry, but he deviated from his tribe to, or from his people to go and marry a Canaanite, which, no, I think he knows because, um, uh, what's her name? Mm, his father, no, wait. Jacob, I mean, Esau had married a Canaanite and now was Isaac had already mentioned that they're driving me nuts. They're marrying outside. So it's not like he didn't know. This is a true deviation from the people, the family of God that God had chosen.
Mhm.
So, and yet, as we read the story, we see that Tamar is almost more Hebrew than Judah is, because she's holding on to the true traditions that Judah's family
Right,
would be holding on to.
right.
Yeah, so it's really, I love it. It's the beautiful chaos.
Okay, very good. Who else? What stands out for you? Hey, Chi. Any other juicy tidbits? Cindy.
Uh, I was just looking at Judah. He said, just in the chapter before, let's sell him. Okay, let's not kill him, but let's sell him. So he's quite an opportunist. And so when he has his own family, he steps out of his tribe. He has two sons that he has not raised right.
Mhm.
I mean, they are bad news. The first
Mhm.
one is just killed outright.
Mhm.
And then the second one doesn't want to foster any offspring. So he just spills his semen,
Mhm.
on the ground, which is called onanism. And it's actually a medical term. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Yeah. Um,
Mm.
but I'm looking at Judah and I'm thinking, God, this guy is a terrible father. He's got two
Mhm.
sons and they're just nasty. Okay. And then he goes and sleeps with a prostitute after, a time of mourning. He's he's rotten. I mean, like looking at this guy and I'm thinking, why would I even want to be near him? So,
Mhm.
and then he doesn't even value his possessions, like his seal, his
Mhm.
cord,
Mhm.
and what was it? His staff.
His stuff, yeah.
So just keep it.
Mhm.
So no brains. I'm really
Mhm.
sorry, but it's like giving away your signet ring or a way of making a contract. So I don't understand why he would be so casual about it.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
so I think that's interesting. There's kind of a thread of his character. I'm seeing his character, which is, to be honest, not a good one.
Mhm.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Tribe of
Yeah.
Judah. Oh boy.
Yeah, so we're gonna see that. Kai always says it's possible to have everything and nothing at the same time. And that's what we're gonna see. We're gonna look at the chaos of his life, but yet at the same time through the lens of the chaos of our lives. Because he had a way, a character that, that everybody's kind of going, yeah, he was doing away with stuff early on. It wasn't like this was the only time. He was always kind of messy. And we can look at our own lives and go, we have a character trait that
Mhm.
we're always trying to tame. What's your character trait that gets you in trouble if you can't reel it in?
Mhm.
Because this character trait was going to get him in trouble basically for the rest of his life, but he wasn't trying to reel it in. Intentionally, as Brenda was pointing out, yeah, I'm going to kind of tip over to the other side. Oh, let me see what the other side. It's like he loved to kind of play on the edge
Mhm.
of right and wrong. And we see that once he does that, he starts tripping up over his own feet. What's your character trait that gets you in trouble? That if you don't tame it, it comes back and bites you in the butt. Do you think of anything?
Um, I would just recently, it's actually two values that are really good if I am being cognizant of how far they're stretching. So if I keep my value of responsibility and reliability
Mm-hmm.
in check with clear communication, then they don't become a sense of duty, because once I allow them to become a sense of duty, then they become detrimental to my health and to the health of the people around me. That's what I recently realized, because I'll be like, well, I can do it. I'm good. And then all of a sudden I go, but you don't feel well. Nah, by tomorrow I'll be okay. And then I'll go to work. So then I lose that window of having communicated that, hey, I don't feel well. Let me read the room to see if tomorrow will be a good day for me to even function. Before you know it, I'm just like, okay, well, I'm reliable, so let's go. And then it's
Right.
like, wrong choice. Yeah.
Yes. Good. Good. Right. To your own detriment, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be anything as major as what we're going to be looking at tonight. But we all have character traits that if we don't reel it in, it gets us in trouble. I can overextend myself. My desire to help other people is so great. I'm working, I'm working, I'm working, I'm helping, I'm helping, I'm helping until I ain't got nothing left. You know, it's the same thing. It's teetering on what is good for you and what is not good for you. And that's what we're going to be looking at. He was always kind of teetering on the edge, but the problem with teetering is that eventually what happens? We fall off.
You fall off.
Yeah. Whether
Yeah.
it's you should have not gone, pushed yourself and worked, but you did it anyway. And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden you're a little bit sicker than you would have been had you not. It's like
Mhm.
it doesn't, again, have to be anything huge, but rather to look at it and go, God, help me to help me.
Mm.
I get in my own way. I'm my worst enemy. He was his worst enemy.
Mhm.
And in the midst of that, we see it, as Cindy was pointing out, his sons were a mess. And they didn't
Mhm.
just become a mess out of nowhere. They
Mhm.
saw a mess, they imitated a mess, and then because of
Mhm.
that, they were a mess. We
Mhm.
pass it on. And that's what God wants us to be aware so that we can hone it in. Because when we're unaware, we simply just do. There were so many missteps in here. So I want us to comb through it. What should he have done? First of all, as Brenda pointed out, it wasn't wrong that he chose to marry a Canaanite woman, right? At this point, it wasn't like it was against the law to do
Mm.
so. It just wasn't the best thing for it to do so. So often we're faced with things that are, well, it's not a sin. Yeah, but is it the best thing for you?
Mhm.
And God leaves some decisions like that in our hands
Mhm.
because it's not a matter of life and death spiritually. But there are times when we are left with a choice and we make the wrong choices for ourselves. Now we look at his son. So Er, like Cindy pointed out, he was just such bad news. God just took him on out of the story right away. But let's look at what happens with Onan. What do we see in his character?
He's passive aggressive.
Mhm.
Passive aggressive. Why do you
He
say?
goes because he does what his father says,
Mhm.
but he finds a way to disobey. In other words, he finds a way. He's the one that says yes and then doesn't really do it. He's yes on the outside, no on the inside.
Wow. If we
Mhm.
think about it, which would you rather? Someone who just outright says no and doesn't do it, or someone who says yes and doesn't do it?
I'll
The
take
path.
no
Then no,
every day.
me too. No, every day, because then I don't have to rely on you.
Yeah, I don't have to
Right,
rely on you, and I know exactly where you're coming from.
Mhm.
right. How do we do that with God? He asked you, the Father asked him to do something, right? He did, but he didn't. How do we do that?
Why did you ask that question, BJ? I was having a good day.
Just things to make you go, hmm.
Mm.
It's always to bring revelation and insight.
Right.
Hmm.
Mm.
That's good enough. I don't need a real
Yeah,
answer.
exactly. Mm.
That's
Angel, were you about to share? You don't have to. Again, just things to make us go,
Well, I was gonna say it's just a study that I was doing today was talking about how um like God opens and closes doors.
Mm.
And I struggle knowing when God's opening or closing a door. And I'm not a risk taker. I'm a play it safe, you know? And self-doubt also makes me question, like, if a door opens and an opportunity's there, am I the person for this? Are you sure? Could I do it if I walk through the door? Like, I tend to doubt not what like God's doing necessarily, but if I'm capable of doing what he's asking. And then or if I can handle the consequences of it, good or bad.
right,
So yeah.
right. Good. Thank you for sharing that. Ona was kind of in the same position. Can I handle the consequences of this decision? He was being asked to do something that had consequences to it that he did not want to take on. What were the consequences to him taking his brother's wife?
He's gonna lose his rightful place as the first son. Because if Tamar gives birth to a son is immediately the he gets the inheritance of as the firstborn son for his brother. And he's not happy about that predicament.
Do you think he knew what
About
the consequences of if
y-
if I allow my seed to impregnate her, then the outcome is going to be this. It's not going to be my child, it's going to be his child. Do you think he
yeah,
knew?
yeah, because that's tradition. Yeah, it was tradition.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's look at that. Go over to, and we'll come back because we're going to spend most of our time in Genesis, but I'll go over to Deuteronomy 25:15. I'm sorry, 25:5 through 10. If I can get someone to read that.
I can read it. Okay, I'm in NIV. If brothers are living together and one of them dies without a son, his widow must not marry outside the family. Her husband's brother shall take her and marry her and fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to her. The first son she bears shall carry on the name of the dead brother, so that his name will not be blotted out from Israel. However, if a man does not want to marry his brother's wife, she shall go to the elders at the town gate and say, my husband's brother refuses to carry on his brother's name in Israel. He will not fulfill the duty of a brother-in-law to me. Then the elders of his town shall summon him and talk to him. If he persists in saying, I do not want to marry her, his brother's widow shall go up to him in the presence of the elders, take off one of his sandals, spit in his face, and say, this is what is done to the man who will not build up his brother's family line. That man's line shall be known in Israel as the family of the unsandaled.
Okay. So if he did it, then he will be fulfilling the law. But did God also give him an out in case he chose not to do it?
Yeah. And plus, this wasn't the law yet. God
No,
hadn't
it hadn't been
established
given
this
yet.
law, but it
Yeah.
was
Right,
just the tradition of the peoples then. So
right.
he could have said, no, Father, I don't want to do this. And he wouldn't be
Held
held
accountable.
accountable.
Right.
Yeah.
Going back to the passive aggressive character that Cindy was talking about, he could have
Mhm.
legally, like you said, well, it wasn't law yet, but they were giving him an out.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be embarrassing, because you'd have to go before the elder, she had spit in your face, but still you could have handled that. You could have went, okay, but I don't want to do this, so I'm just not going to do it. But the passive aggressive nature of who he was came into play. There are times when we have outs and we just don't take them for whatever the reasons are. What will people say? What will people think?
Yeah.
What will I do? We have outs and we don't take them. To really look at our character spiritually and go, am I spiritually passive aggressive? Am I spiritually a bully at times? You know, there are things in our character that shows up. And basically it shows up when we're faced with something we really don't want to do. That's when you can really identify your character, because you either come out strong fighting or you kind of wheeze, I don't want to have to do with it, so I'm not going to really deal with it. I'm just going to let the people do with it. Whatever your character is, it definitely impacts the outcome of our lives. We're starting to see it with Onan. Because of his passive aggressiveness, he took the easy way out. So in sleeping with his brother's wife and spilling his seed, God was not pleased with that. Why?
I think,
Bridget.
well, it was against what the law was at the time, but also like I think he thought he could outsmart God. And like he thought he could outsmart his dad, because how would his dad actually know what happened? But God sees everything, even like the stuff that you think that no one else will see or no one else will notice. And I could understand why that would piss off God.
Yeah. We don't say it, but think about how many times do we think we can outsmart God? We just think we can maneuver around him. We won't come out and say, I can outsmart God. We just kind of maneuver around things. But in essence, it's saying exactly that.
Oh.
Cindy, Revelation. I could see it on your face.
Oh, I was just looking it up. This is pre-Mosaic law, so you really can't hold him to the law.
Yes.
But I just did this thing, like a query. At the time of Onan, before the law, what were the consequences of not doing what Judah asked? And it says, at the time of Onan, pre-Mosaic law, the consequence of refusing to fulfill the levirate marriage duty requested by Judah was immediate divine judgment resulting in death. God deemed Onan's action, using his brother's widow for pleasure, I didn't think about this, while deliberately preventing contraception, which was deceptive,
Right.
and using her,
Right.
okay, wicked, and struck him dead. So, I guess at the time, I'd have to dig deeper, that at the time in the Levant, which is where these people were, what was the cultural norm? Because a lot of times it seems like the law will grab onto
Will
that
match.
and
Right.
use it as a structure
Right.
and maybe embellish it or enlarge it, or, at the time they understood that that's what was done. Now, I don't know what the consequences would be for somebody who said, no, I don't want to do that, whether they come before elders or whether they're stoned. I don't know, because this is still pre-Mosaic, right?
Right.
But it's interesting. He was using her. He thought, well, I'll get some fun out of this, but I ain't going to do what you asked.
Right. Yes. Speaking of, go to Leviticus 18. Leviticus 18:16.
Okay.
Someone can read that, please.
Okay.
So sorry, Leviticus what?
18:16.
I can read that.
Okay. He's already read it.
Do not have sexual relations with your brother's wife. That would dishonor your brother.
As Cindy was saying, they've established laws of the land. They may not have 100% been law yet, but these are the laws that they are the community is living under. Do not have
Mhm.
sex with your brother's wife.
Mhm.
You know, it was
Mhm.
just he knew, but yet he did anyway. And Cindy was pointing out he was just using her. He
Yeah,
didn't want the
they weren't having a romantic relationship. He was ordered to do that for a specific purpose alone.
yes.
So if this was the law, he was not sleeping with her because he thought she was hot or something like that. I just keep thinking of Herod when
Yes.
I read this one because he took his brother's wife
Yes.
and
You
they
just
weren't
start to
having tea.
It
you
also
see
says
different
in the
traits.
verse
Go
right
ahead,
before
Bridget.
that, the verse right
Oh,
before that says, "Do not have sexual relations with your daughter-in-law." So it all
Oh, there you go. Boom.
it's all explicitly spelled out right there.
again, you're seeing the character traits, the weakness within the family. You know, each if you think about, we have generational curses throughout families, and you're seeing those deficits. You know that you would have. Do not have sex with your brother's wife. Do not have sex with your daughter-in-law. It's like things go on that are opposed to what God wants for us, but yet in our passive aggressive nature, we try to maneuver around them and do them anyway. And it comes back to haunt us. I love what I looked at when I go over to Genesis 49:10. If I can get someone to read Genesis 49:10. I loved when I saw this.
I can read that.
All right.
The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he comes to whom it belongs, and the obedience of the nations is his.
Who are we talking about? We're talking about Judah,
Jude, who gave up
right?
his stuff and he gave.
Why? I cannot figure this out.
It's like
What I
God has a joke, I swear.
Sense
It's
of
a
humor.
joke.
I want us to see God's plan, and then we have our actions. But God is like, no, no, no. But my plan reigns supreme. He
Mhm.
says, the scepter shall not depart Judah. Now
Mhm.
we're looking at Judah in all of his messiness. Why was it so important? Air was totally was ugly. So God just went, oh, we're just going to remove you from the equation.
That's what I
And
do.
then we get to Onan, and he says, oh, no, 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 no. I'm just going to remove you from the equation. However, God's word still stood true. The scepter shall not depart Judah. So he had to do some
Oh.
revamping to make sure that it remained true. Bridget.
Yeah, like I was like reading all of like Judah's mess. I kept like through my brain that song that says like the Lion of Judah, and I
The
was like,
Lion of Judah. Uh-huh.
again, like why would you choose this mess? So I looked it up, and then it says, the verse that we were just reading, Genesis 49, 9 and 10, and it says in
Mhm.
that passage, Jacob is blessing Judah and
Mhm.
describes him as a lion, symbolizing
Mhm.
power and royal authority, and then the staff and all of that.
Mhm.
But now I understand like where specifically it came from.
Mhm.
So that cleared that up. Again,
Yeah,
I understand God redeems anything and everything,
Mhm.
but it is just
Mhm.
interesting.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, Bridget. No, Brenda.
So this it's so interesting. It's like Jacob is redeeming his son Judah because I'm sure at this point, well, no, I mean they've found Joseph and they've all come to terms with the evil they did in to their brother, and then Judah, I'm sure, has come to terms with the evil he did. you know, um, still in the midst, it's like, wow, this was a novella, and then he added on like on the super novella, and Jacob, his father, is redeeming him by giving him this exceedingly gracious um, blessing, which also has some hints of uh, Jesus blessing Peter after
Mm.
knowing that Peter is going to do this craziness, this betray him, and he's already told him, hey, Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, but I will restore you. So it's kind of like there's this redemption part that is just so gracious. It's humbling.
Yeah. Yes. We're going to be seeing, you're already seeing it, the redemption throughout this story. You look at it and go, do they deserve it? They're just chaotic and messy. But yet, redemption just keeps showing up. Jacob to this one, to this one, to this one. Thank God for us that redemption shows up even in our chaotic messes, even in our missteps. God shows up with redemption. He's always showing us there's a way out, there's a way out, there's a way out. But it comes, well, we haven't gotten there yet, after taking responsibility. Because we see lots of non-responsibility. You look at Judah. He was supposed to, by law, well, he was supposed to, according to the ways, the laws of the tribe, after the death of Onan, what was he supposed to have done for Tamar?
To bring the youngest boy once he became of age.
Right. Now, did he say he was going to?
Nope. Well, he said, but in his brain, they are even showing us what his thought life is like. He's like, nah. He's thinking, if I give him to her, he might die too. So he was never intending to give this
Right.
young woman up. This
So
young man up.
we're seeing the same passive aggressiveness that we
Yes, on
saw
the
in the
outside,
start.
no on the inside.
Absolutely. He knew from the start that was not what he was going to do. But he said, you go to your father's house. I will send it when my son lies, lies, lies. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Cindy.
You know what's really crazy? He left his signet ring. No, not a signet ring. His cord, his staff, and his what is wrong with me? Cord, staff, and seal. And I looked it up. It symbolized, these personal items symbolized his authority, identity, and tribal status as a leader. He did not think much of himself, or else he would not have left them on the road with some stranger. And then you go to Deuteronomy, and the scepter will not depart. It's like,
Yes.
really?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh, that's
Yeah.
insane. But he's at a point in his life, when he sleeps with Tamar and leaves all of those things, and just, it's kind of like Esau. I'll trade it in for a bowl of soup. I'll trade it in just for sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he trades something in that's very precious and makes it very pedantic, very, it's on the road.
Yes.
But yet also notice he had left his family. Like they at the beginning, the story, the narrator makes sure that we recognize Judah left his brothers and then went to Adullam. So he is, I think his sense
Good
of
point.
belonging, being part of a bed of, he's forgotten all about that because he's already given it up by walking away.
Right.
I bet he felt guilty for selling
Probably.
his brother. That'll do you in.
I love what everyone's pulling together. Everything you're saying, if you think about it, when we lose gratitude for what we have been given, it's easy to walk away from it. It's easy to forget the importance of it. As Cindy read through those three things, we can go, whoa, that's super important. But in his mind, it was like, it's just a bowl of soup. It's just nothing. We've got to be careful with all that God has given us, all that he's laid at our feet. We as Christians can very easily get like, well, yeah, he died for me. Yeah,
Mhm.
love it. Love you too. Mean it. You know what I mean? But we take it for granted. And it shows up in the eyes of other people, looking very much like Judah, just giving over his seal, giving over his just giving. Someone else is going, wow, do you know what you're giving up?
Mhm.
But it's so easy for us when we lose the gratitude
Mhm.
to not realize how precious what we have been given truly is. And it's almost once you get into the habit of giving it up freely, it gets easier and easier and easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know if it was challenging for him or not in the beginning to leave the family,
Mhm.
but we saw it. And then
Absolutely.
he started to give up. You know, the more you give up, the easier it is for you to let go. So we've got to look at it and go, God, have I loosened my grip on you?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to go back and see, am I still holding on as tightly as I was in the beginning? Or have I loosened up my grip to a point where I can't even see that I'm not really quite holding on to you anymore?
Mhm.
I'm in your presence, I'm in the
Mm-hmm.
vicinity, but I'm not really holding on to you. That's when we start maneuvering around. Like Bridget was pointing out, he was maneuvering kind of around
Mhm.
God. I'm getting just close enough not to get into major trouble,
Mhm.
but yet he was getting into major trouble. So he had said he was going to give his son, which he had no intentions of doing, did not. Did his sin catch
Mhm.
up to him?
Yeah,
Just
real quick.
one day I'm going to go shear my sheep, not thinking anything, because at this point he's thought, I've gotten away with it,
Mhm.
right? The son is grown now.
Mhm.
He should have called for her, did not,
Mhm.
probably didn't even think twice about it. And then he's about his everyday routine life. And bam, you're faced with that one big thing that you did not deal with. How do you think that feels? You may not have been there, but just imagine what would that feel like? It's like somebody being wanted for something and they think they've gotten away with it for like 10 years. Then all of a sudden there's a knock at the door by the cops.
The golden gets serial killer. He's like, wait, what? DNA?
Yeah.
No.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
probably one of those things like everyone kind of has like that one thing when they know like you automatically go to, oh no, they know. And like you know exactly what it is. Like when that
Yes.
person comes, like I don't know, like if you're a kid and you know you did something wrong, you think you got away with it, and your mom's like, "Hey," and then you're like, "Oh no, she knows that I did whatever I did."
Right.
But you already internally know, so like by
Mhm.
the time someone comes to tell you, you like there's just guilty written all over your face, and you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, this is the time." Like I did not get
Yeah.
away with it.
Yes. I love how God uses Tamar.
Mm.
How does he use her in this section of
Beautifully.
the story?
Um, First, that she is okay. So this is the part. Where were we reading it? I think it was in Deuteronomy where it said that you you go to the gate. Like if your brother, you go to the gate and then you mention almost like you shame them, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's interesting that she went to the gate, but going to the gate for a different reason, almost like to to call out Judah's bluff. And the shaming and the spitting almost comes later on when he's like, oh, burn her. And then she's like, yeah, sure. Here's your evidence. So it's kind of like she is showing the evidence at the gate that was given to her in
Right.
secret at the gate. And then Judah is able to now come to terms and be humbled. But that the gate, everything happened right there.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know about the kinsman's redeemer. right?
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
know what is that, what is that about? Explain the kinsman redeemer, someone.
That's exactly what Onan was supposed to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like Ruth and
And
Boaz.
mhm,
So
to help
Boaz was from her husband's family line.
Elimelech's
Okay,
family line.
so he was supposed to redeem her. And then he also had an option not to take her.
Mhm,
Mhm.
So, that was established at the gate.
Right. It's almost, when I talked about a series of unexpected events, it's almost like
mhm,
there's a reversal
mm,
because she could have shamed him and put him down.
mhm,
You
mhm.
know, the fact that she had the wherewithal to
Wherewithal,
even
yeah.
to ask for all the things, and the way in which she did it was very respectful. It
Mhm,
was almost like she redeemed him, when she could have
mm, mm,
shamed him beyond shame.
mhm,
Mhm.
What he should have done, she did instead for him. And then we
mhm.
go on to see how it should have been done later with Boaz and Ruth.
Yeah.
It's kind of what
And
Bridget had mentioned earlier. God has a way of redeeming the women who are
mhm,
mistreated and abused. We
mhm,
see it throughout. We saw it with Bathsheba. We see it here. There's so many times where God is going, I got you, I got you covered. I know what they should have done. I know how they should have treated you. I know how they should have loved you, but they didn't. But I got you covered. He took care of her when those who should have been caring for her did not.
mm,
And she, not in bitterness and angry and anger and frustration, deceptive, yes, but it was deceptive for the to put things kind of back into God's hands.
yeah. Mhm,
But I just love that little twist, again, twist of fate that's happening. Is that all of a sudden she's stepping in to do what he really should have stepped in. Bridget,
I feel like with is it Tamar or Tamar? It doesn't matter.
I hear both.
But you're both.
I feel like the way she acted at the end is like, and through the whole thing is like a reflection or like a preview of the way Jesus behaved on earth.
mhm,
Because
mhm,
like you said, she tripped them up in a way of
mhm,
like
Mhm.
them trying to, screw her over and be like, be burned. And then they
mm,
essentially were the ones that had violated the law. And I feel like Jesus
mhm,
had a way of being like, here you go. Like, this is what it is. I'm
mhm,
not doing anything wrong here. But then um the thing that just jumped out to me even more was when you were saying, she could have said like, you're bad, you're awful, you did this, and could have totally shamed him. And Jesus never did that with anybody who,
mhm,
made a mistake.
mhm.
So like I
Good
feel like
point.
it was like a reflection of that
Right.
eventual character of like redeeming of like, I mean, we all are Judah awful, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm,
and and she was like, no, like let's just set this right and move
mhm.
forward.
Yeah,
So I feel like that's kind of something that I hadn't noticed before.
good.
It's also interesting that you never hear of Sheila again because the story was never, Sheila was never supposed to be a firstborn of Judah at all.
Right.
Because now we hear about Perez. Perez
Right.
then becomes the firstborn.
Right. And I want to take us there. Thank you, Brenda. Go over to
You're
Matthew.
welcome.
We're going to look at the genealogy. I want you to look at the names as they pop up. Matthew 1,
Mhm.
strange names as we know, but that's okay. We won't read all of it. If I can get someone to read 2 through 3 for now.
Matthew 1, 2 through 3.
Yes, please.
Okay, I can do that. Abraham was the father of Isaac, Isaac the father of Jacob, Jacob the father of Judah and his brothers, Judah the father of Perez and Zerah, whose mother was Tamar, Perez the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Amminadab, Amminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon, Salmon the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Yay! Boaz the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth, Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of King David.
Okay, let's stop there for now. Look at what's happening. Remember when we looked back in Genesis 49:10, the scepter shall not depart Judah.
From Judah. Mhm.
That was God speaking. This is what's going, this is the law. As you're
Mhm.
building law and everything else in the community, this is something that is not going to change. The scepter shall not depart Judah. Now, in the midst of that, we saw Judah's character and all sorts of craziness play out, but God's plan would not be changed. That makes me feel fabulous. How does it make you feel to listen to God can have a plan, and no
Mhm.
matter how chaotic and messy we are,
Mhm. Mhm.
his plan doesn't change.
Mhm.
How does it make you feel? Because we can be chaotic and messy. Just so I see it. Gee.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how it makes me feel, but I think it makes like the flood make more sense to me.
Mm.
Like to me, that might sound like egregious or like a lot. But it's like God's always going to right the ship.
Yes.
So that's funny. I wasn't even thinking about the whole boat thing. But yeah, like regardless of if I understand it, like his plan doesn't change, so he still makes what work needs to work out. And I think that's what makes that story of Noah like even more impactful is like he's going to do what has to be done for this promise, for all the promises he said to come true,
Right.
which for Jesus's return makes it a lot more hopeful for me. Not that I
Yes.
doubted it, but it's just like, oh, like
Right.
he will make this happen. It will come to pass. The
Yes.
new heavens and earth will arrive. Like all
Good.
those things.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, you think about it, it is there to inspire us
Mhm.
because we live in a chaotic, corrupt, and sick world, fallen world, and we are part of it. So every day we're surrounded with something that makes us go, at least it makes me go, oh my goodness, God, you're seeing all this, right? You got this, right? There are times when I just kind of go, okay, I'm trusting you. So when I see way back in Genesis 49 that the scepter will not depart Judah, and then I see all the crazy in between, and now I'm up here in Matthew 1 and the scepter did not depart Judah, I go, okay, God is the same.
Mhm.
He is the same. I can lay my head on that and rest on that. And even when I mess up, I don't mess up his plan. He may have to take a roundabout route. He had to get us to Perez. He had to get us to Perez. So he had to do away with He had to deal with Ona. He had to deal with a lot of stuff with Judah not doing what he said he was going to do. There was a lot he had to deal with, but he still got us to Perez, which is what brought us all the way down to where we just ended with the line of David. And then we're going to go to the end in a moment. Go ahead, G. And then Cindy.
Yeah, I was just like, oh wow, there's been a lot of rewriting the ship if you think about that
Yes.
entire lineage.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, even to get to David, like with
Yes.
Saul, like it just okay, and God's telling him like, guess what? It's not you anymore. And he's like, it's gonna be me still. And he's like, it's not you anymore. Like like it was unfathomable to Saul that it's not going to be his lineage. He's not going to be king anymore. Like, and for those of you on here that have watched like House of David, like for me, it's just the imagery is just so stark. Like, wow, this dude was out of his mind. And so like to see David's name listed there, like when God says something, that's like seems like it's ironclad,
Yes.
regardless of what position you had or maybe what he's used you for.
Right.
Like it does not change.
Right. Very good. Thank you. Cindy.
Well, now I know why God did this. I figured it out. I think I figured out part of it. It's in Genesis 44, in verse 18. If you read verse 18 through 33, this is when Judah changes. He completely expresses something like a transformation of his character. He takes responsibility. He says, "Oh," he says to Joe, "don't let the boy go back. I mean, no, we can't keep me instead in his place." So he steps up to the plate and does something very transformational, self-sacrificial.
Mhm.
And I think that changed everything. And that's why we end up with that scripture in Deuteronomy. If he had not done this, I don't know what would have happened, but God knew probably what was in his heart. Like he knows
Yes.
all of us
Mhm.
that we're messing up. We get angry, we're what we've been through, trauma, whatever it is. And then we turn around and we do the right thing and we repent. So essentially, he
Mm.
repented because he
Yeah.
originally sold his brother and said, "Hey, yeah, let's cha-ching. Who cares?"
Mm.
Then he moves away. Who cares? Gives his scepter cord and, oh, I don't care. He has
But
no
isn't it?
responsibility whatsoever. And you
Mm.
could see it in his two kids, all right? And then
Mm.
his daughter-in-law is the only one really responsible for trying to make things right.
Right.
And then he changes.
Right.
It may have
I
been as a
know.
result of the situation with Tamar, pulled him back in, said,
Yes.
"Hey,
Yes.
That's what I was
Good.
gonna say too. Like, I think Tema facing up to, like, now she's pregnant. So by virtue of tradition, then Judah had to bring her into his home so that he can be a protector. That's why they say he never was intimate with her again, because
Right.
now he has to make sure he is responsible for his children. So,
oh,
and
Yeah.
then in that way, by her returning, she also returns the the scepter, the staff, and all that. So now
steal."
he then becomes, he understands his sense of belonging. He understands his responsibilities. And so when Benjamin comes up, it's not hard for him to actually go, yes, I will give my life for this young person, because he understands now.
Right.
I
Awesome.
was saved big. Yeah.
Good. G, were you about to share?
I was just gonna say, like, you've already mentioned this in the past studies, but just to see the women's names that were outlined
Mhm.
in that lineage
Mhm.
is like they must have really made a difference to make this story happen. Like,
Yes.
not just their individual stories were, like, oh, how God saved them or propelled them
Mhm.
or whatever, their children, but just for the entire plan of God. Like,
Right.
it was much
Wow.
bigger. Like, you know how
Yeah.
you always say, like, it's not about you, and
Yeah.
that can be taken in a certain way, but like they were listed to me because it was about God's plan. Like they made that happen. And then it just goes to, like, I can't remember how you say it, but when Jesus makes, or not Jesus, but God makes the woman, and it's like igner cadigno. What's that word? I can't remember. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anybody?
What
Hey,
are we trying to describe?
hey Reggie, what's the suitable helper name?
Help meet?
It's called Ezer Kenigno. So
Oh,
it,
yeah.
yes, so that word meaning, okay, everyone talks about suitable helper, but it also was used 21 times in the Old Testament. Two times
Yeah.
were for women and then, yeah, women. And then the rest of the times were how God helps Israel. And
Hmm.
so just meaning, like, I think like women were always supposed to help the story. And like this one thing I just saw was like, God changed nothing of what he made in the first 7 days. He didn't rewrite anything other than we need one more thing. And like we need to make sure this before, everything else, you know.
Right.
So I just think, like, again, it just shows the importance of how women help things come about, the importance of our stories and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Thank you. Beautiful. And that
That
is
was
something we have to fight to remember. I'm sorry, Cindy, go ahead.
That was awesome. Gianna, I'm so glad. And, Brenda, you brought it on home like that. But the way you brought that up, Gianna, was just perfect. It means, Ezer Kenegdo in Hebrew translates to strength, rescuer, corresponding to him. We're not like unequal. It means exactly corresponding to, opposite to. Ezer implies an equal partner, not a subordinate, as the term is often used to describe God's saving strength, signifying the perfect complement.
Yeah.
Equal and opposite.
Going back to, we're beautiful. We're beautiful, powerful women of God. But it's going back to what I was saying. She became the kinsman redeemer in that story. We think about the kinsman redeemer. We always think it's a guy, but God is going, you're both my children that I can use powerfully, male and female. So you see the kinsman redeemer as Boaz, but we also see it here in Tamar. We see it in somebody who no one would ever expect to see it in. Again, why the beauty of the lineage, as G's talking about, when you see a Bathsheba listed, when you see a Rahab listed, you go, what? But they've got a past. And God's like, I can deal with their past.
And
Let
they're
me
all
show you who
foreign
they
women.
Yes, let me show you who they are. Foreign women, but let me show you
Word
beyond
of God.
the actions that the world looks at. There's something greater to these women.
Mhm.
There's something
Mhm.
greater to all of us. We just have to say yes to him. It's his plan. It's his story. We're just a player in it. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
We're just a player in his story. And that's why, and I do want to take us back to, I keep going there, but back over to Genesis 49.
Mhm.
This time to read verses 10 through 12, please. Now we're moving towards Jesus. Listen to the description. He would tether his donkey to a
Donkey.
vine, his colt to the choicest branch. He will wash his garments in wine, his robe. Listen to what that description is. We're talking about he's going, the scepter will not be removed from Judah because I'm going somewhere, y'all. There's something, there's a story I'm telling, and I ain't letting you mess it up. I know you've got all sorts of stuff you've got, but I have a story that I'm telling, and we will make it all the way to, and I want us to go to and end it with back over to Matthew 1. Cindy was reading the genealogy, so we've got to go the distance. So go back over there, and we'll close it out.
Jesus did tether his donkey to a vine.
Yes, I know. That's the point.
I mean, he really did do that before Palm Sunday. Okay, or
Right.
whatever.
Right. So let me get over there. I'm sorry, having to use my phone because I'm not at home.
You're in Matthew 1.
Matthew 1. So we ended it with David, right? We got to. So Cindy, if you just go down to the end, right before we bring Jesus into the picture. I'm not there, but you can see it. You know where to read, please.
Okay.
Up to 15.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. David was the father of Solomon, whose mother had been Uriah's wife. Solomon, the father of Rehoboam, Rehoboam, the father of Abijah, Abijah, the father of Asa, Asa, the father of Jehoshaphat, Jehoshaphat, the father of Jehoram, Jehoram, the father of Uzziah, Uzziah, the father of Jotham, Jotham, the father of Ahaz, Ahaz, the father of Hezekiah, Hezekiah, the father of Manasseh, Manasseh, the father of Ammon, Ammon, the father of Josiah, and Josiah, the father of Jeconiah and his brothers at the time of the exile to Babylon. After the exile to Babylon, Jeconiah was the father of Shealtiel, Shealtiel, father of Zerubbabel, Zerubbabel, the father of Abiud, Abiud, the father of Eliakim, Eliakim, the father of Azor, Azor, the father of Zadok, Zadok, the father of Akim, Akim, the father of Eliud, Eliud, the father of Eleazar, Eleazar the father of Matan, Matan the father of Jacob, and Jacob the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called Christ.
He was taking us on a journey, and did not matter what we did in between. He's going, I will reach the end of my plan. His plan was he's gonna tie his coat to this, he's gonna do this. It is the story of Jesus. And even though the players had to come around to some revelations, they had to come to some changes. Eventually, they became players that he could work with, or as someone said, he switched his players. But God's plan will not be changed. That should be comforting to some degree, that Saul started out as his guy, but he didn't end as his guy. We can start out as God's girl, but it doesn't mean we're going to end. We have to stay in the game. Am I obedient to what he's calling me to? Or am I passive aggressive, saying yes, but with no intentions of doing it? Am I fighting battles against God when I should be fighting battles with God? We have to examine where we stand. Where are we in his story? If I'm going through this chaotic lineage, which character best identifies me? Am I Judah? But luckily, Judah brings about some change when he finally says, she is more righteous than I. We see change. So we can't judge him just on the fact that he's messy, because we're all messy. God is looking for the messy person who's willing to change. He didn't take Judah out. He took out. He took Onan out. But he did not take Judah out, as messy as he was, because we did see signs of change throughout. And his plan was to build on it. God is not looking for our perfection, but he is looking for us signs of change. If you see something in your life and you go, you know what, I'm not where I need to be, God ain't mad at you, but he's looking for signs of change. Am I getting in the way of God's story, or am I helping to move God's story along? Amen?
Amen.
We're all over the place. It was a great, great conversation tonight. Give me some feedback. How are you guys feeling?
Wait, I have a question real quick.
Yes, Bridget.
So I thought that, since we read in Genesis that Jacob had said, like, the scepter will not leave Judah, but wasn't Saul from the tribe of Benjamin? Or was he from Judah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why God changed his mind and put
But-
David.
But his mind was never changed, right? Like, it was never going to be Saul.
It was
Because-
never
It
going to be
wasn't.
so. Because the
Right.
people wanted a king, and that's why God chose
Right, but I'm
Saul.
saying, like, way back in Genesis, even though, like, I guess I just got confused because I was like, it didn't seem like it never had changed. It was already established, like, a long time ago, right? That, like,
Yeah.
no matter what, it was gonna be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times what God it's like the Israelites taking 40 years to get to where God intended for them to go, where they could have gotten there, I think they say in 11 days or something. It took, because God had to reroute. He had to clean out some. So we bring about changes that makes things take longer. Saul was one of those, because as Brenda pointed out, the people were wanting, and God's like, okay, I'll give it to you, but it was never his intended plan. So then he had to work it around to get it back to his initial plan.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense. Like even with Eve, like I'm like, why would
Yes.
God make these people and then you know that they're gonna do this and that? But like if they made these decisions, then he changes. But that wasn't the initial plan that they would be sinning from the beginning. Blah blah blah. But I guess there was always that
Right.
chance, I guess.
Yeah. God does listen to us. He tried to dissuade us from some of our crazy, but he listens. Like he said, okay, I'm going to hand the people over and let them have what they want. It's not where we're going to end up, but I'm going to hand it over to you. Angel, is that a hand, or are you just adjusting your hoodie?
It's a hand. I've just kind of been, I think, like taking it in because I'm kind of like I said before, I've been in a spot where I'm realizing like I don't really know when God's opening a door or I question if the door is for me. Um, or if I can really make an impact or a difference. Or sometimes when I pray, I wonder like, well, sometimes I feel silly. Like God already knows what I need, what everyone needs. Is it going to make a difference if I do this or say this or approach this person or pray for this person? Um, and it is comforting to know that God's plan will always like it'll always happen. And then we have our free will to determine whether we're going to be a part of it or not. And I think too the conversation around like how women play a part, sometimes I feel kind of insignificant. Um, I don't know, maybe it's because I grew up around mostly men and feeling kind of like I can't be much help to them. I'm kind of in the way. So all of that has been things I need to hear. So I think, as usual, the timing's always right and the lesson always hits right on target. So thank you guys.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's true for all of us, Angel. You know, the Bible is very patriotic. Oh, not patriotic. What word am I looking for, Cindy?
Patriarchal,
Patriarchal.
patriarchal.
It's
Patriotical. Thank you.
patriarchal.
Yes. And with that, we can feel like and come to believe that we are secondary citizens,
Yeah.
second class citizens. But as we comb through this, and even what we were seeing tonight, we're not that in the eyes of God.
Mm.
And that's what's important to see, that we are all children of God, and he will use whom he chooses to use, male or female, to bring about what he has planned. And that's how powerful we are. It's not about us versus them.
Yeah.
It's about all of us being pawns that God can use to bring about the ultimate plan. And it doesn't matter who's king or queen. What matters is that God reigns supreme in the end. And that's what we see at the end of this, is that God reigns supreme, even though they had to go through all sorts of things. But in this story in particular, we had a woman who kind of reset the course. And that's encouraging. Amen.
Amen.